Hello, how's it going, everybody? Drew here over at Arcturus Cinema headquarters, and today's video is gonna be about my upcoming Cyberpunk short film, Mindfall, Awaken Shadows. And in case you haven't been following the progress and the content that I put out already, what this video is going to be about is talking about how we plan to make this short film a reality and going into a little bit more detail on the story. But before I do that, let me share this with you. This is a concept that I created, and this concept is what the opening credit sequence is going to look like. Obviously, the film isn't done yet, so it's going to be different once we shoot it and edit it and all that fun stuff. But at any rate, enjoy. Alrighty, so that should give you a kind of a clear indicator of the vibe that we're going for with this short film, because cyberpunk is such a broad genre, as you probably know, and there's so many different styles to cyberpunk and this and that and the other, which is all great. But this film right here is a very specific flavor. Now, I don't know if you've watched my original cyberpunk short film, Binlowes Locker, which was released in 2017. But in that film, if you check that one out, that really gives you the vibe that I'm going for. And it is what I like to call minimalist cyberpunk, which is, really going back to just that feeling, the cyberpunk feeling, and a great film that was a huge inspiration for this short film right here. And really encapsulate the style of cyberpunk that I'm going for is the movie Upgrade. Now, the movie Upgrade, in my opinion, is totally underrated. Like, most people don't know this film, and it is so well made, and it really encapsulates the not only the look of what I'm going for, but just the feeling and the way they were able to capture that cyberpunk aesthetic on a low budget. I mean, they had such a low budget for this feature film, and they kept everything pretty much grounded in a near future. I highly recommend everyone to check out Upgrade. That really gives you a really good, I don't want to say primer, because the best primer for this short film that I'm making is Binlowes Locker, but I definitely recommend everybody to check out Upgrade, and that really will give you an idea of where I'm kind of my style and everything for this. But enough about that. So why I'm making this short film right here. So back in 2017, I made Binlowes Locker, which is essentially the prequel to this series. So Mindfall is a TV series, a cyberpunk TV series. And again, this is nothing like anyone's ever seen. I have never seen a cyberpunk show come close to this type of concept. Of course, Black Mirror kind of comes close in certain episodes, but they don't really touch on the action aspect. So the action aspect is very huge for Mindfall, because it's an action thriller. It's not a thriller, and there is a huge difference there. And so that's what I sought to do with Binlowes Locker, is to introduce this series that I have developed. Right now, as of right now, I have the pilot episode already written and everything, and it's all copyrighted and all that good stuff, and I'm planning to submit it in more film festivals. But I got good feedback from the one film festival that I submitted it to, and that was really, really helpful. What I'm planning to do here with the Mindfall short films is, of course, I want to make it into a TV series, but I plan to create this community and create this following before I make it into a series, because that's just going to make everything more seamless. when I go to make the actual pilot, because the pilot is going to be way more expensive than the short film for obvious reasons. The film opens with this defector, right? And so this defector, he is Jane, and he is defecting, and we don't know from who, but he's defecting from this organization, this criminal organization. And if you watch Binlowes Locker, you know what that criminal organization is. And he's going to meet with this contact, but the contact is murdered. And then when he discovers that his contact in this city park has been murdered, he is chased in hot pursuit by these cyborg thugs, right? And the concept I have for that, real quick, is I want it where we do some everything in camera, where they're wearing shirts and they have the sleeves slightly rolled up, and you can see their bionic hands. I think that would be just sick. Anyway, so long story short, there's that chase scene in the very beginning, and he narrowly escapes with this thumb drive, right? And we don't know what's on this thumb drive, but obviously these cyborg thugs want it. So that happens, and then of course we have the opening credit sequence, which I just shared with you. And it's going to be slightly different once everything's shot and edited. And then that will transition to this new scene, which I am still writing out, or we're still in the process of writing the second draft of the script. But essentially, he goes to the person who hooked him up with the contact, which is this hacker guy. He has dreads. He's a stoner guy, and and they get into a little exchange, because he's like, "Your contact's dead," and he's like, "Why didn't you call me?" And then Jane's like, "I did, but you didn't answer." And he's like, "Oh," because he's kind of out of it or whatever, because he's high. And anyway, so what ends up happening is going to the hacker guy to get a passport or whatever to get out of town, right? And he has a son, so he's trying to get out of town with his son. And so the hacker guy gives him the address to the safe house, or this hotel where the son is at, and gives him the passport. And right before that happens, a sleeper agent or sleeper assassin shows up and ambushes, but Jane narrowly escapes again. And then that dovetails nicely into introducing John's character and the relationship with his wife. So the short film is about this veteran who works as a PTSD counselor for veterans, and he has recently integrated back into his civilian life, right? So he used to work in the military, and now he's has this job now helping fellow veterans, because he's successfully transitioned back into civilian life, and he has a loving wife, and it seems that everything in his life is going great and all that jazz, but yet he is haunted by these nightmares, and he also has these migraines and things like that. In the morning, we see on the news, we see in the background when John and his wife are having this lovely exchange, right? It's really cute and romantic. We see the news in the background, and we see that this hacker guy has been murdered and all that stuff. And then, since it's kind of serious and they're looking to have this light mood, she mutes it or whatever. And then John goes to his job as a counselor and does that. And so it's going to be really, really cool, because we'll see this day in life of John. But then we go back to Jane again, and that's when the whole mystery is set up. And I don't want to spoil too much, but it's very much like a murder mystery. And so long story short, John is implicated as a suspect, and by these two people, Susanna and Desmond. And so it's going to be a really, really cool concept, because just the way everything unfolds. And if you've watched Binlowes Locker, you'll have an idea of where things are going to be headed, which is really cool. So if you haven't watched Binlowes Locker, Definitely go to my YouTube and you can check out the link and all that good stuff. It should be there. And if not, I can send you the link. But anywho, another thing I'm really excited about is I think this short film also presents an opportunity to tap into the veterans community. I think it would be really awesome to for the scenes when John is, consoling these veterans to get real veterans. And what I would absolutely love is the character of John to be, of course, played by a veteran. I think would just sell his struggle. Like he's having this, seems to have this perfect life, but there's still something off. There's something in the background that isn't quite resolved. And I think just having a veteran play him would be perfect, and it would be a really cool way to also support the community. Like perhaps we could have one of the sponsors or a location of a real veteran support location, and highlight that and use that as the shooting location for his work as the counselor. So I think that would be really, really, really cool to and then put them in the credits and stuff to give back and all that fun stuff. So anyway, I want to dive in really quick to how we plan to make this short film. So like I just mentioned, I would love to tap into the veterans community, get them involved and in some way. I think that would be really exciting and really cool, because I myself, I'm a son of a veteran. My dad served in the Navy as a retired Navy captain. So any way that I can incorporate them, I would love to do that. But anyway, I want to go more into how we plan to make the short film. So what's going to be awesome about the short film, and a lot different than a lot of cyberpunk short films out there, is I am aiming to have pretty much everything be in camera, all the visual effects. So John has a prosthetic arm and whatnot, like a bionic arm, and I want to hire of course a special effects artist enough a special effects makeup artist to come up with like a design or something that he can wear and do the makeup on his hands so it looks really believable. And then of course, like I mentioned before, the cyborg thugs, that they have a sleeve rolled up and we can see the bionic hand. So I want to do that same approach with John and just keep it in camera. And my inspiration for keeping it in camera is really the original Robocop. The original Robocop, so much of the special effects were all in camera. And it still holds up to this day. I mean, even the stop motion animation, still holds up. And I think that if we keep it as much in camera as possible, obviously there's going to be some visual effects elements that we're going to have to create, like in the scene where we see the augmented reality, that's going to be most likely CG and whatnot, computer generated. And it's going to be cool because there's so many ways that we can do it depending on the budget, right? We can just have it where it's like have the sleeves rolled down and we just see the hand, the bionic hand, or if we have more of a budget, we can just show off the entire arm, which I think would be really cool. So there's different ways that we're going to approach the visual effects to really make it believable. But I think the thing that's really going to sell it is just make it in camera as possible, right? I don't want a CG bionic arm or bionic eyes. I think for some of the cyborg thugs, I was thinking it'd be cool to get like contact lenses, right, to change the look of their eyes. It would be really sick. And then the future tech they're going to be using is pretty much contemporary, right? It's just like certain things. And I still have most of the props from Binlowes Locker. So for the futuristic iPad that's like see-through, I still have that. We'll be using that. So in Binlowes Locker, we also had Lamar's computer. It looked kind of like an iMac, but the screen was transparent. So we still have that prop, and we might use it for this one. And then it looks so sick because we can use an LED light strip to backlight the screen, and it looks really cool. We have a way to, with the visual effects, with After Effects, to add some images and stuff like that. And so that will be really cool. The main thing I'm really excited for in terms of the digital effects is the augmented reality, because everything in this world is pretty much augmented reality, either through smart glasses or through bionic contact lenses, or bionic eyes. That's how most people are interacting now. I mean, they still have their smartphones, they still have their tablets, whatever, but everything is usually through this augmented reality, and that's going to be cool. Definitely want to keep everything as far as the effects and everything, whether in camera or digital. I want it all minimalist. I don't want it super over the top, because I want it more grounded, more strapped down, and all that fun stuff. So that's essentially how we're planning to do that. And then so far as the shooting schedule, we estimate it's going to probably take 5 days to shoot everything, maybe a full week. And we're planning to consolidate the locations, so repurpose the locations for different scenes. And so anyway, I just wanted to share all that. I know it's a lot. It's going to be so much fun making this short film. It's just going to knock your socks off, because again, I haven't seen a Cyberpunk short film done like this before. I really haven't. Or anything really in the mainstream other than Upgrade. Upgrade is, I think, the closest that I've seen to this type of concept. And anyway, so I also wanted to just throw that out there again. Please feel free to check out Binlowes Locker if you haven't already. I'm debating just having it public on my YouTube channel, because I did submit it to some film festivals, but it was unlisted. It wasn't public on my YouTube. So I'm thinking of just making it public so that way you guys can check it out and all that fun stuff. And then also, if you would like to support the film and learn more, I do have a website, which I'll be linking down below, where you can join a mailing list. So if you want to get more updates on videos like this, you can, of course, subscribe, and you should definitely do that. And the mailing list will put out more content and stuff like that. I'll put out like a newsletter every so often once we get closer to filming. And then, of course, if you'd like to support the film and donate, we would be greatly appreciative of that, and it would mean the world to us. And just every little bit helps, because I want everyone involved in this film to get paid, and to also the money will go towards, of course, securing locations, coming up with the props, hiring awesome composer who's going to be returning. So all that fun stuff. So all the money will be going towards that and making it a reality. And I'll have the link for that down below as well. We might do a crowdfunding campaign again, like we did with Binlowes Locker. We might do an Indiegogo, that, or a Kickstarter. That's still on the table. But for now, we're just taking donations. Another way you can support also is just by sharing the project, really, to other people who are passionate about the cyberpunk genre and want a fresh, new type of short film or concept out there to invigorate the genre and add more spice to it, and because my goal is really to have this positive disruptor, this new concept that people haven't seen, and disrupt the genre in a very positive way to add inspiration to fellow filmmakers, and all that fun stuff. But again, thank you so much for checking out this video. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates, and see you in the next one.